Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you how I make my very quick and easy bunting. I'm making some bunting for the front of the main boat that we live on, and I thought I'd do a little video to show you how I make mine. This is what I have for my bunting. I'm going to make some mini bunting. So I'm using a collection that Pammie Jane gave me. This is the Wild collection. It's absolutely beautiful. Let me just open that up and show you. We've got lots of gorgeous leopard print in a rainbow collection here. And I'm going to use some bias binding that I've bought on the roll. So that's going to look fab together. It's very quick, it's very easy to do, and I'm going to show you how. I think the hardest bit is just going to be choosing my fabrics. So I'm going to choose a selection. It's beautiful fabric, this. And I love Pammie Jane's designs. She's so good to me. She gives me samples. And this is one of the samples that she's given me when I met her at H&H Chicago this year. So these are the ones that I've decided to use. And you're not going to believe how easy this is. So let's just move those out of the way. So I'm going to take our 5-inch squares. You can make these up with in any size that you want, but I decided to save the cutting and use these that Pammie's given me. So you've got your 5-inch square here. I'm going to just fold it corner to corner, and I'm going to stitch 1/4 of an inch down here away from there. And I'll show you that in a minute at the sewing machine, but here's one that I stitched earlier. So I've got all my 5-inch squares here, and I'm going to take the first one and I'm going to fold that over corner to corner, and then I'm going to stitch and secure my stitch down. I've got 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and I'm going to just sew down and right to the bottom. And I'm going to do this with just some chain stitching. Get my next one. Make sure that everything's lined up. And keep going. So I've got all of our pieces now sewn together, and what we need to do is turn them inside out. But before we do that, I'm just going to, let me see here, get my really sharp little scissors, and I'm going to just trim off that corner there. Then I'm going to turn it inside out. I've got my little pokey chopstick here. Be careful not to really poke down into it, because we don't want to rip the fabric or tear the stitches. We're going to do this for every single one. And then what we do is give it a press. We're going to tuck that inside there and press it down. And this seam here will be on the back of your bunting. This only really works with non-directional fabric as well. So if you're using a fabric that's directional, then I would use a different method for making your bunting. So we've now got all these made. I'm now going to go and switch the engine on because that's what I have to do when I do any pressing or use anything like a hairdryer. So, and I bring the power in from the boat next door because this little boat here that we're working in is all solar powered, and the solar power is not strong enough for an iron. So the joys of living on a narrowboat. I'm using my little iron here. You don't need anything too big for this. Just wait for it to heat up. So you can see here, this is what they look like at the moment. And I'm going to make sure that that's all in line and give these a press. I'm going to take this end bit here, this pointy bit, and I'm going to tuck it inside. Be a little bit fiddly. Tuck it inside there and then press that. And that's what it looks like at the moment. I'm going to do that for all of them. So these are all pressed now. And they look so cute already. I'm going to go and switch the engine off because we don't want to listen to that humming of the engine in the background. So I'm going to put these in some kind of order that I want them to be stitched in. So I'll just quickly do that. There we go. I think. And we're going to go over to the sewing machine. But before we do that, this is the binding that I've decided to use. This is an extra wide binding, but I just love the fact that I've got a whole selection of these with polka dots on. So I'm going to leave myself quite a long length before I actually start stitching. I will stitch down here first. So imagine there that I've stitched. I'm going to pop my first one in and I'm going to stitch close to this edge here. And I'll show you that at the sewing machine in a moment. I told you this is quick and easy, didn't I? So here we are at the sewing machine. I am going to sew a few inches of the binding because I want to be able to tie it off wherever I'm going to put it. I'm going to move my needle over to the right hand side. I'm going to secure my stitches in place and I'm just going to quickly stitch down here before we put any bunting in. Just slow it all down a bit because my machine is playing up. Okay, so I'm now ready to put in my first bunting pennant. So I'm going to stop before I get to the end because I don't want to have too many gaps. I don't want too big a gap here. So you can see that I'm just placing that in there and making sure that it's up against the center fold. And then I'm just going to, you can use clips if you like. I've probably left about an inch gap here, but you do whatever you want to do. My machine, it's not happy today. Must be the heat. I'm just going to pop the next one in. We'll just keep going until we get to the end. So I've got to the end now with all my little flags, and I'm just going to carry on stitching for a little bit more on the bias binding, and then I've got something to tie it off with at the other end. Secure my stitches in place, and then I'm just going to give that a snip there. And now I've got our lovely bunting. So here we have our lovely bunting made with Pammie Jane's Wild collection. Thank you, Pammie Jane. And I've used this black and white spotty bias binding for the binding. Now I need to just go and find somewhere in the front of the boat to hang it up.